If you shower or brush your teeth or try to make your hair look presentable, here's some good news. Dollar Shave Club has a lot of stuff to help you out. Dollar Shave Club delivers everything you need to look, feel, and smell your best. Shampoo, conditioner, body wash, toothpaste, hair gel, even a wipe that leaves your tush feeling tingly clean. All of Dollar Shave Club's products are made with top-shelf ingredients that won't break your budget. You'll feel the difference. Plus, shipping is free with your membership. And here's a great way to try a bunch of Dollar Shave Club's products for just $5. You can get their Daily Essential Starter Set. It comes with Body Cleanser, One Wipe Charlie's, their amazing butt wipes, and their world-famous shave butter. And their best razor, the 6-Blade Executive. Keep the blades coming for a few more bucks a month and add in a shampoo, toothpaste, or anything else you need. Check it all out at dollarshaveclub.com/Chad. That's dollarshaveclub.com/Chad.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Then, as now, it was a Tuesday, September 11th, 2001, when the World Trade Center came under attack. Although it was bright blue skies and sunshine as opposed to this dreary, foggy day here in New York City. And what used to be known as Ground Zero has been transformed. There are new buildings. Within the last 12 months, a new transit hub has opened, and there is a vibrancy here, but still always it is a solemn place as families make their way back to remember those killed.
You remember where you were? I think everybody remembers some of it. I read an article that said that those moments in time that we think we all remember, that maybe we only remember about 50% of what went on that was real, and some of it's imagined and our mind plays with us. But I think a lot of us remember certain times vividly. And I look back over these last 17 years, and I say to myself, okay, horrific? Absolutely. Did it destroy us as a nation? Not even close, right? Not even close. It brought us together for a very short period of time, but then things got back to normal and we were fighting, and, here we are, 17 years later, and we're still arguing and fighting. But take away all of that, right? The political side of it, as far as the Democrats and Republicans right now, I look and I say, well, what have we learned from that? I mean, we're now in how many countries fighting Islamic terrorists, fighting, pseudo quiet wars. Our footprint we've really put our footprint in several different places. And at the same time, we gave away some of our liberty and some of our freedom there. And we said, it's okay if this is all in the sake of safety, which you just sit there and you shake your head. And you do have to ask the question, what has changed? What? We're now in Afghanistan. We're still there. Iraq, we're still there. Syria, Libya, Yemen, many other places that we're now fighting, these awful, 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 awful groups. And a culture war has ensued since then as well. It's not just us. I mean, the reality, if you look at the culture war that the Europeans are fighting right now. Look, Sweden right now is fighting a culture war. They've swung right, even further right, because they're fighting a culture war. But I do ask the question, I think, what have we learned from that? What have we learned? It's interesting to think about, because we don't think about it. We kind of think about it on this day, but we don't really give much thought to it, unless you have a person in the military or a person who suffered that day, or it's brought up and go, oh, yeah, today's the day. I remember where we were. And then you go on about it today. But you look at all the things that have happened. We have the Patriot Act. We've got TSA. We've got all of these things. We've been spying on ourselves. And all of this stuff has happened as a result of that. And now we've allowed it to become part of our everyday life. But what else have we learned as a nation, as a whole? I think it's a very fair question to ask. It really is. I mean, we can remember on that day where we were, what happened. We woke up here, you know, whether you're on the West Coast or the East Coast, whatever happened, and you woke up and then you saw, hey, there's a plane that crashed into it, and originally it was like, well, they thought it was a small commuter plane or, you know, just like a two-seater Cessna. No, it was a bigger plane. What? And then all of a sudden you see the other plane come and you're like, oh my God, this is not an accident, and things start happening and planes are disappearing and everybody's like, oh, geez. And then we, you know, Shanksville and then the Pentagon and this is a coordinated thing. We as a nation under attack. We remember all of that. But subsequently, since then, I look and I say, what have we learned? You know, there's been a war, several of them. There's been a culture war that is still going on. There has been a destabilization throughout parts of the Middle East. And yeah, we got him. We got Osama bin Laden. But out of that grew so many other things, you know. It's been very interesting to look back, and I don't think we touch on it as much, and the impact not only globally, geopolitically, but many other things that have taken place that have happened here with us and our freedoms, the way we spied upon people, the data collection. Just going to the airport now, where you essentially have to derobe to get through the airport, knowing full well it's nothing more than a placebo effect, because they're not really looking for anything, because they don't even know what the hell they're looking for in many ways. Like, unless you have a bomb strapped to your body, chances of them catching you are slim to none. And the real threat comes from underneath the airplane, not the person that's getting on the airplane. So many things, though, that we've decided, hey, we're going to give up this because we'd like some, you know, safety. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Trump out there today talking in Shanksville in Pennsylvania about, you know, today and what it means not only as a president, but to us as a nation.
President Trump and the First Lady departing the White House early to spend the morning near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, to commemorate the 17th anniversary of 9/11. The Trumps are joining an observance at the new Tower of Voices Memorial, located in the field where hijacked Flight 93 went down. Last year, the president marked his first 9/11 anniversary as commander-in-chief by issuing a stern warning to extremists that, quote, America cannot be intimidated.
No, America. And, you know, this is like when I talk about like the TSA and a lot of stuff like that. You know, you look at 9/11 and you look what took place on that day, and the TSA is what it is now. And so now, because, you know, idiots who hated who we were, who saw us as the devil, who decided to do what they did on 9/11, and now we, as people, we get frisked, and, you know, grandma's sitting in the wheelchair, right? And she's got her little puppy dog, and she's going to see, you know, little Jimmy and Sally for Thanksgiving, and you know, they're stripping her because we're worried, and you step back and you're like, what is this all about? 9/11 is not going to happen again. Unless they go and steal airplanes that nobody's on. It's just not going to happen again. Because we'll never allow, you get up now and you say, I'm going to blow the plane up. People are like, go ahead, blow the plane up, because you're never going to get where you think you're going to go. Because we decided that's not going to happen again. So now you've got cars and you've got the clash of culture. People are going to take a car and they're going to drive through people. You got clash of cultures. You've had mass shootings. We've not really seen suicide bombers here yet. That's one thing we've been spared from. But I look back and I say, well, what have we learned? I mean, even on, you know, just trying to understand each other from what took place that day, looking at the cultures, looking at all of this, what have we learned from that day? Right? Well, one thing, you know, I think one thing we learned about ourselves is you can, it's an old saying, if you're going to hit the king, you better kill the king. And I think what a lot of the terrorist organizations find out, we hit the king, and the king just kind of looked at us and said, oh, no, this isn't going to happen. They didn't kill the king. Instead, they pissed the king off. And instead of hoping that we would take this as a way to get the hell out of their countries and get the hell out of their business, we then said, well, now we're going to put our feet more in your business because you've done this to us, and there has to be some repercussions. Damn skippy there was. But on top of that, we spread it out further. I've said since day one, this isn't a war about religion, and it's a war about culture and a lot of other things. But unfortunately, we look at this day and, when I talk to people, especially younger people who don't realize, somebody's 20 years old, right? They were 3 when this happened. Last year I had a talk with my son, Jack, who's 8 years old. He was 7 at the time. And he said, what happened? And I said, the best way to describe it, Jack, is really bad people decided they were going to do really bad things to our country. And because they didn't like who we were, and they took the opportunity to try to hurt us. And it stung like a bee sting, but in the end, we're still there. And still trying to explain that to people, even a 7-year-old. But there's a lot of younger generation who, much like myself, I don't remember Kennedy being shot. I wasn't born when Kennedy was shot. I don't remember that. It's big. But trying to explain that to people and subsequently what's happened since then and how we have, let's be real. If we're just honest with ourselves, it's kind of an afterthought anymore, right? It is. Oh, today's 9/11? Oh, I didn't remember that. If you're older, you're like, oh, yeah, I remember that day. I remember what I was doing, where I was, and all of that stuff. And it's kind of become, because now we're entrenched in wars and we're continuing to do so. And there's all of this stuff. And we've got, massive exodus throughout there, the exporting of some terrorism, people fleeing for their lives. And it's become a giant hodgepodge of nastiness in Europe, the way that they're fleeing from there. It's unforeseen circumstances that came out of this. But what have we learned? What have we learned? What have you learned since then? I remember I was sitting there when all this happened, and my buddy Lars, who's Danish, but spent most of his life between Denmark and London, had a very thick English accent. I've always found it very entertaining, and very astute politically, just a brilliant mind. And he looks at me and he says, "This is going to change everything. You've no idea now. This is going to change everything in America." And this is why he loved America. But he goes, "This is going to change everything." And I think in a lot of ways it has, subtly, and that's affected us in so many ways that I don't think people see. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Welcome to Chad. No, not the country. The institution. The Chad Benson Show.
Donald Trump Jr. tells me he plans to be out on the campaign trail extensively between now and Election Day as one of his father's most popular surrogates. When I asked him about his own political future and whether he might join the White House, he didn't rule it out. He said he's wary of even more intense media scrutiny.
Yeah, absolutely. And he also says something now that everybody's jumping on when pressed about a certain issue that potentially could happen. The left is very excited about it.
Are you scared that you could go to jail?
I'm not, because I know what I did, and I'm not worried about any of that. That doesn't mean they won't try to create something. I mean, we've seen that happen with everything.
What? You're not scared at all that you may go to jail and be somebody's love toy? It's crazy. It really is. People like the Peter Strzok thing, the stuff that's coming out. They want to do this, that. And people say, Chad, why do you care? Because what is to care about? I mean, honestly, your day-to-day life, if you're going about your business, we pay some attention to it. But I'm at the point now, and as I've talked to more people, that, and I've looked at more research, because I love to look at research and see that so many people are turned off by all of this stuff. Not that they don't care, but they're at the point now where they're sick and tired. They care about the issue. They no longer care about the fighting over the issue. It's become the big thing. They care a lot about the actual issue itself, but the fighting over the issue, which is all we have because the issue's not settled. That's what they're sick and tired of. And I don't blame them. I don't want to sit here and defend Donald Trump anymore over this Russia thing. And I don't want to sit here and say he's done something wrong. I'm at the point where you just at the end of this, can you just wake us up and tell us all what happened? And then if we want to argue, we want to talk amongst ourselves and want to debate some of this stuff, I'm totally fine with that. But it is the fighting over it. As I was breaking down a lot of information about this, that's what it really is become. We no longer care. The issue itself could be there. It doesn't matter whether racism, sexism, whatever kind of ism you have out there. And you could look at it and you could go, okay, There's an issue there. We could talk about it, but nobody's interested in talking about it. They just want to argue over that issue right there. And to me, I'm kind of bored with it. I really am. I'm at the point where let's get to the point where we can discuss stuff as mature adults. And because the rush now, and this is one of the things I've noticed in the media itself, is the rush is to get out there and be first in everything, to have some sort of crazy take on something, even if you don't believe it. It's about getting clicks. It's about getting views. It's about it's about headlines and all that stuff. So you come out there with a wild take, and you don't even have to know what it is. You don't have to read the article. See something, say that's absurd, go on there and say something even more absurd, never really knowing any of the facts, and chances are the story itself isn't even finished to its complete, and then we'll go from there. And that's what people are sick and tired of, right? That is what they're sick and tired. The fighting over the issue, not the issue itself. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, and I got a perfect one today for you, and I do mean perfect, ladies and gentlemen. We call this our urban word of the day.
It's time for the urban word of the day, fam.
What? Right now?
Time to get a little more hip on the streets.
I can't understand a word you're saying.
Urban word of the day.
Thirsty. Now, for a lot of you out there, like thirsty, I know what that is. I want a beverage. I need something to quench my palate. Maybe I need some water. I just want a nice cold Coke or something like that. No. A lot of people out there, and you see them all over social media, maybe some of your friends, they're thirsty for attention. They need attention. They're thirsting for somebody to pay attention. And in this day and age, there's a lot of people out there thirsting for them to have attention paid to them. Thirsty is your urban word of the day.
Thank you for saying that in dated urban slang so that I'll understand you. That there was the urban word of the day. We damn stretched your cranium.
I think there are people in there that he can trust. It's a much smaller group than I would like it to be.
Who do you trust?
Well, I'll keep that to myself.
You're being sneaky there, don't you? Who do you trust, huh? And yeah, I would say this. He, in many ways, has somewhat isolated himself, and I don't think that's a good thing. But once again, the whole resistance inside the White House and all who do you trust, if you think this is new, you're wrong. A lot of what's happening in the White House, maybe not to this extent or some of the craziness and the salaciousness around it, but a lot of the stuff that you see is stuff that's happened before. The media itself and the way it reports on it is giving it life and twists that you've not seen before, but that's because you just didn't know what happened. I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. If you think he's the only person who had people inside the White House who not so much worked against them, but maybe worked for the people, thinking that maybe this president was going to do something wrong, you're fooling yourself. These kind of things have happened before. Backdoor channels to all kinds of stuff have happened before. The difference is the way it's being covered comparatively to past presidents. That's the real thing. The sensationalism of this president and, how people blame him for all the divide in the country as if we didn't have any before. That is the difference in a lot of this. I'm not saying that this isn't on steroids, but the coverage itself plays a lot into it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Check out ChadBensonShow.com. A lot of good stuff there. Grab your podcast as well. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
We posted it at Facebook. Apparently everybody wants to be president. So potential for Oprah? Probably not. If I'm Oprah, here's why. Here's why I don't want to be president, right? I built a massive brand. A massive brand. People like me, even people on the right or left, whatever. I'm at the point where, she doesn't have to be apolitical, but people still like her because she hasn't decided to join the fight, is the way, with our tribalism. That's the way it is. Say what you like about Trump. You hate him, you love him, whatever it is. His name is mud for a lot of people around the world. It is. And people who complain make everything worse for everybody. They're louder. They're whatever it is. Like people, we had to take down the Trump sign in front of our condos, even though we like him because everybody hates Trump. And I don't hate him, but whatever. You've decided to destroy a brand. So in a day and age where it's like, oh my God, it is possible that like we could have somebody who's not a politician become a president, and all these people think about it. You have to ask yourself a question. If you're somebody who's a multimillionaire, billionaire, but you've run a big corporation and you've been on the political scene and you're somewhat well known, but you're not a brand, I understand why you may take a run at it, right? I get that. But if you're Oprah, if you're The Rock or any of these other people tossing around, Oscar De La Hoya, we put that up on the face thing about running, whatever. You ask yourself, if you build a brand, are you prepared for half of the country and potentially parts of the world to hate you? And for a lot of people with massive egos, because you have to have a massive ego to do what he's done or Obama. It takes somebody special to wake up as a child and say, because that's what it is anymore. You're no longer a person. You wake up, I want to be a fireman. I want to be a pro golfer. I want to play in the NFL. I want to be a surgeon. I want to go to the moon. And now you have kids waking up and say, I want to go to Congress, right? I want to go to D.C. And they start building their lives around it. There's a certain person that runs with that, and ego's part of it. Then you throw in fame, like real fame, like Oprah and The Rock and all these people who joke about. That's you're saying my entire life's work, pissing it away. It's done. Because even though they may know I'm left or I'm right, the minute you say I'm doing this and you put your hat in there, it changes everything. Like, don't do that because we like you. But if you do, it's all bets are off. All bets are off. If you do it, don't do it. Don't do it. And then you do it and you're like, oh, why'd you do that? It's over now. It is. We can't like you anymore. We used to think we could like you, but you can't. We can't like you anymore. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. So Jim Carrey was on with Bill Maher over the weekend. By the way, he wants to tell everybody something.
I went out today and bought me some Nikes.
Oh, yeah.
Some freedom-friendly Nikes.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right. That's a salute to...
Yeah, whatever. He bought Nikes. So, by the way, Nike, I'm with Cap and all of this stuff. There's been a surge in sales, and Nike itself. You saw what happened last week by taking a stand. If I'm a business owner, I'm just like, I don't want any part of this. I mean, I know I have to, but God, I just want to sell my widget. But now even the people that are part of your brand are saying you should do something socially conscious. And you're like, aren't not having so many sweatshops socially conscious? It's like, that's what Nike should be. Nike, we don't have as many sweatshops as we used to be. So he's got his Nikes. But the I'm with Cap, by the way, Nike selling is what he's doing. But they got around to talking about, yes, socialism.
Democrats seem to be getting their groove back a little bit, and what I mean by that is that Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, Diana Presley, Stacey Abrams, Kerry Evelyn Davis, these are all women who won in primaries, weren't supposed to. And they did it with unabashed liberal proposals: Medicare for all, ending student debt, a different approach to the war on terror, ending mass incarceration. It seems like if there is maybe a shining spot in this Trump tragedy, it's that it's made the Democrats sort of rediscover who they are.
Which is not true, because the reality is they're going further left than they've ever gone, getting out of touch with a good portion of their constituents and Democratic supporters, which is scaring them because those are the ones that vote. I mean, the youth of America, I'm going to tell you guys this, the youth of America, the millennials, right? So you had the baby boomers, right, who were born and then they raised their kids and they kind of latchkey kids and they had Gen X and then Gen X came along, which is my generation. They raised a bunch of, snowflakey kids, a good portion millennials, felt entitled. They got the entire world handed to them, told they were absolutely amazing, and they sent them out in the world. And those kids are the group, the millennials, the largest group. And at some point in time, being raised in this day and age of going through public education, which is a very skewed way that they look at things now. Getting into college, which is academia, is completely left-wing and ridiculous. Talking about utopia, brought to you by people who've never really been in the real world for all intents and purposes, but been hiding behind those ivory gates there. And they're a large portion of society. Now, they're a little bit more libertarian than I think a lot of people really want to believe, because we hear more about it and I talk more about it. Because I give them more credit, because I know a ton of millennials. I work with the other room where all the news people are. There's probably 25, 30 millennials. And I know them all and I talk to them all. And they're a lot more libertarian. There's a few snowflakes over there, and we kind of avoid them. But they make fun of them. But yeah, they're a little bit more libertarian, not as crazy. They liked Bernie because he was out of the box and kind of weird, But they're not all like that. But the socialism side of things, it's coming in some way, shape, or form in a bigger way than people think. It really is, because you've got a lot of these people who are coming out with idealistic, utopian dreams, and the reality is they've been handed a turd in a box. Get an education, pay a lot of money, come out. Doesn't matter what your education is. You're like, wait a minute here. I've got underwater basket weaving, lesbian dance, African studies. And you're like, it's not worth anything. And they're pissed off. And they want, hey, where's my $60,000 a year job? I got to move back with mom and dad. And they kind of like the sound of extending their childhood longer by staying on their mom and dad's insurance to 26, not having any real personal responsibility, all of these kind of things, which makes them go, that sounds good. That sounds great. And hey, everybody should get along. We should all hug each other. We should all do those kind of things. And it's funny when you listen to them talk, but the socialism word, it's a scary word for a lot of people, and for a reason. Why does the right wing always talk about Venezuela? Because that's what it is. The same people, Bernie and all of them, who scream and yell that it's not about that, were the same people praising Hugo Chavez. Right? You look around the world and you look at all of the countries that have tried socialism, and when they bring up the Scandinavian countries, they're free market societies. They tax not corporations, they tax the middle class and the upper middle class, because they know they're not as mobile to bounce. But it's always about the free stuff. And free, man, it sounds wonderful till you have to pay for it.
So, the Republicans are running with the word socialism. They're trying to say...
They're trying to scare people.
Scare people.
It's communism. It's
Venezuela, Trump says. We're going to be living in Venezuela.
Well, because Venezuela is socialism. Like, don't tell me, like, what are we, socialism light? We have the hubris to think we can do better? We're America. We can do anything we want. We totally do it better. Doesn't work. There's a reason they built walls in the East. Like East Germany, West Germany. It wasn't to keep people, we don't want people to break in here and take our socialism. It's like, no, you guys got to stay. Oh. There's a reason for that. You look at what's going on in Venezuela. They call it socialism, and you're like, okay, so your socialism is socialism, but it's a socialist socialism. It's a little bit different. Their socialism, but it's a little bit different, and you're going to do it right. Just trying to figure this out. I'm still yet to find an area where socialism's paid dividends. We can go through the 100 million lives lost, last century and all that kind of stuff due to socialism. But the reality is, just from a plain economic viewpoint, it's crap. It doesn't work. It doesn't. And in this day and age, it's going to be harder, because the more that you try to tax the wealthy and take money from them, because remember, you're not producing anything. So you've got to take money and spread it out amongst everywhere else. More wealthy people are what? Mobile. They can leave. They can bounce. Corporations can bounce. So then what do you have? You tax the middle class. You tax the individual, because it's the only thing you have.
And I'm here to tell you, people, is that it's a failure. the system is a failure in Canada. It is not a failure in Canada. I never waited for anything in my life. I chose my own doctors. My mother never paid for a prescription. It was fantastic. And I just got back from Vancouver, and I keep hearing this, like, Canadians are so nice. Canadians are so nice. They can be nice because they have health care.
Oh, is that it? Because they have health care? I was unaware because it was health care that made them so nice. No, it's good people. That's a good thing. But your anecdotal evidence there where, hey, well, it's this because, and that's why, and we got this, but our wait times ignore that. And the fact that, other places who have done research has said that it's all a bunch of crap and it's all a bunch of baloney and that it's now 3 months to see a specialist, and it could be up to 21 days to go see your GP, your general practitioner. And I had a great experience. Here's the thing about somebody like Jim Carrey and a lot of other people who always advocate for this, especially celebrities and big politicians, is they're going to live above it. They're not going to live with it. And that's something that's big. That's something that is massive. When I lived in Europe, guess what? I had socialized medicine for a while. I figured out a way around it. Money greases the wheels in the end. That's it. And if you want to see a gap in healthcare, watch what happens when you jump at socialism, because the haves will have, and the have-nots will have to parse out little bits and pieces along the way. Worse than it is now, and more expensive. What? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. You know what? I'm going to tell you, if I'm the Republicans, there is 2 words that frighten me in 2020. 2 words. Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard is a person who is a Democrat. She's from Hawaii. She's beautiful. She is, even though she's kind of a moderate Democrat. I mean, she sided with Bernie, but she's real. She's very real. Those are the things that scare me. Because I tell you, I've listened to her. I like her. She's interesting. She is. And if I'm the Republicans, man, all the crap that the Democrats are going out there screaming and yelling, you should do this, you should do that. Let me tell you something. If she takes a real run at it, if I'm the Republicans, there's something that scares me right there. There is. Served in the military. She was the first one to meet with Trump, by the way, on the Democratic side. She has been she has hammered her own party as well as the Republicans. She is very interesting. That's who I'm worried about. Socialism, I'm not worried about that yet. Soon, maybe, but not yet. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. All right. So you go into your bathroom like I do, and you open up your medicine cabinet, and you get a bunch of crap, just a bunch of generic crap, right? You got this kind of gel, and you open it up, and it's kind of just nasty, and it's all clogged, and it barely comes out. And you got, just awful. I want you to just take it and just throw it all away and get Dollar Shave Club. Let me tell you why. Hair styling products, shower stuff, toothbrushes, toothpaste, you name it, they got it. Razors, all of this stuff. Top shelving. I like the shelf that is so top is amazing. That's what the ingredients are. And guess what? It's not going to break your bank. And here's something else. They're going to save you a little time as well as money because you don't even have to go anywhere. They're going to send it to you. Here's how you start out. Daily Essential Starter Sets, $5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They're going to send it to you. There's several to choose from. You choose the one you want. There's no wrong answers here. Check out their video. Very cool. They always make me laugh. Go to Chad Benson Show. Go to dollarshaveclub.com/Chad, dollarshaveclub.com/Chad. Thing I like about it, people say, do you really use all that stuff? I'm like, their toothpaste and toothbrush are amazing. And their hair care products, I rave about them. Try those. You're going to love it. dollarshaveclub.com/Chad, dollarshaveclub.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Take a fake news break. Check out the really important news of the day at our website, ChadBensonShow.com. Once there, click on Chad's free podcast and get real. The Chad Benson Show, where truth and the American way live. Print free.
In the video posted on social media is the body of 21-year-old Kyle Kirby, pronounced dead Sunday in Valparaiso, Indiana. Two men are shown manipulating the man's mouth like he was singing a song and lifting his arms like he was a puppet. The Porter County coroner says the video shows a blatant disregard for human life. But Porter County Sheriff Dave Reynolds says his office, who responded to a call from one of the man's parents, concludes no laws were broken and that the men said they were horseplaying. The coroner says he suspects a drug overdose, but won't know until a toxicology report in 2 weeks.
What in God's name? I was young once. At no point in time would I think to myself, that dude's dead. We should totally do stuff with his body. We'll make him like this. We'll do Weekend at Bernie's, marionette style. It's going to be awesome. Quick. Get the camera, because not only are we going to do it for our own laughter, we got to make sure the world sees what kind of dumbasses we are. Remember when you were a kid, there would always be that person that did something really stupid, and that's all that person was ever known for. Yeah, that was it. Like, you'd see that guy like, oh, dude, there's Jim. Yeah, that guy's an idiot. And then for whatever Jim did, right? Like, he tried to jump off the roof of something and he smashed through the window of the teacher's office and he broke both his legs. Whatever it was, and that person never lived it down. Sat at the different table when you'd eat lunch, whatever it was. Just never lived. And even later in life, like you go back to the high school reunion, like there's that guy. Not anymore. Not anymore. Now it's like, oh, check that out. That guy's cool. That's the guy that did the thing with the guy with his dad with the mouth. That guy's funny. Like, never. It used to be like a shame, like, the red A. It's not that way anymore. It's not a badge of shame. It's like we court stupid and then we reward it. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBensonShow.com or theChadShow.com. Either or works. Go there, check it out. You guys are going to like it. All kinds of good stuff. Grab yourself your podcast. Share it amongst your friends. The first taste is free. Well, they're all free. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
We're here to pay solemn tribute to the 40 passengers and crew members on Flight 93 who rose up, defied the enemy, took control of their destiny, and changed the course of history.
Yeah, they were the first to fight back. If you think about 9/11 on this day, 17 years, they were the first to start the fight back. Little did any of us know that 17 years on, and we are still fighting. We're still fighting culture. There's a clash there that I think a lot of people forget to talk about, and we're going to touch on that. But there's a lot of things that have happened since 9/11 that has changed a lot of things, and it's incredible. I mean, we're still fighting in Afghanistan, right? We're in Iraq, and we've gone on from there, right? Yemen, Libya, Syria. You see where we're going with this? On top of that, TSA, they unveiled a new slogan today. We're going to slogan the TSA. We're not really going to stop anything from happening because nothing's going to happen. I think that ship has sailed. So I don't think that's ever going to happen again. But the TSA, all right, yet another opportunity for the government to say, quick, we need more of this. We need more spying and we need all of this stuff. And how about banking regulations and the Patriot Act and all of these things, because this is going to help us. And people are like, yes, keep us safe. and on emotion. That's what happened. It's frustrating. And I ask you, 17 years later, what have we learned? What's changed? What's changed? And what if when we look at stuff, right? We look at all of these things. What have we learned? Not from the act itself or the subsequent, hey, we need to do this and we need to do that and this and that. But what have we learned? We look at the culture of things. How has our culture changed? Right? Because I think, and I've thought this for a very long time, a very, very long time. When I lived in Europe, it was one of the first things that was like one of my first moments. 23, 24 years old, and I'm in an area of London that is very, you had the West Indians, people from Trinidad and places like the Caribbean, and you had a lot of Muslims, and it was very, it was just, being there is Luton, and it was this little place, and if you go online and see some of the stuff there, and the first thing I thought is, well, this is just, it's like you don't feel like you're in England, and there was this culture thing, like, whoa. And it was different. It was very different. And diversity, I look at diversity. I love diversity, but here's how I like diversity. Organic. Right? Organic. That's how I like it. I like it to be natural. Well, Chad, we're segregated by... No. So many people think we're always segregated by this, and the rich and the wealthy and the black and the white and this, that, and the other. It's out there. It really is. When I was a kid growing up, I was so blessed. I went to school in Long Beach called Stanford Junior High, right? And we were really diverse. It was great. It was organic. I had friends who were Crips. I didn't have the Bloods. They weren't allowed at our school. That's the way they kind of did it. Certain gangs with the certain areas where they could, hang out with each other. We had like Sons of Samoa. We had the East Side Longos, and we had the East Side Laotians, and those gangs all kind of got together, so they were okay with that. But I had friends from Cambodia who were just fresh here from the Khmer Rouge and the killing fields, and it was amazing to hear some of their stories. I had friends who were here just from Mexico. Their parents had moved here, and I had friends there were white people, black. It was amazing, and it was natural, and it was organic. And I had and I was one of those guys. I was loud, and I was funny. I had bright red hair. I was kind of punk rock, and everybody kind of liked me, so I got along with everybody. It was great. That was diversity to me, where it was like, okay, cool. I'm seeing all kind of walks of life. It's a lot of fun. It didn't feel like it was forced. And I think nowadays what we have is in a lot of ways this identity politics and forced diversity. And the other day, Tucker Carlson, he goes out and he, he's on Fox. So automatically, if you're on Fox, unless you're Shepard Smith or, Neil Cavuto or maybe Kennedy, you're a white nationalist. And he comes out and he says something that I found to be rather interesting. And of course, it was spun.
How precisely is diversity our strength? Can you think, for example, of other institutions such as, marriage or military units in which the less people have in common, the more cohesive they are? Do you get along better with your neighbors or your coworkers if you can't understand each other or share no common values?
Here's where he went wrong. He's a white guy on Fox. That's the first place. But look, diversity for the sake of it is not a good thing. And if you're open to it, it's a great thing. But that's the issue that I have with a lot of what we're seeing with diversity nowadays, and this kind of forced diversity, which is, and it doesn't matter if it's this white privilege, doesn't matter if it's the LGBTQ world. It's like all this diversity we have to, it's instead of it being organic, it's forced. And it's forced in a way that it's like, this is it. This is us. This is who I am. Deal with it. And I'm not going to change, and I'm not going to ask you I'm just going to tell you, you better deal with this. Period. Case closed. I'm not going to ask you again. Otherwise, you're going to face the PC police. Social jihad is coming for you. I did that really well, right? Like, that's pretty good. I was thinking to myself, that's you could do that. Like, if we were doing whatever they were doing, you could be in the lead. And that's the frustration to me. Because, and where he mixed up is I'm great with diversity, but have you asked the people, do they want to be a part of the culture? Have you asked them that? And that's when I see a lot of the problems happening here in this country with diversity is the left especially, and they're going to go on a rail here with, Don Lemon and everybody's going to go on and do their thing, and I'll play some of it. But too often than not, when you see not just America, but the West in general, you look at diversity and you hear and you talk to people in places like Sweden and Denmark and Germany and the frustration and wonder why there's a rise of certain things. It's because people are coming there, particularly from the Middle East, and they're escaping war-torn areas, and they're coming there. And what they're doing is they want to be who they are from where they came from. They just want to do it in your country. They don't want anything else that you have to offer, except for maybe some of the social services. But outside of that, they have no want to be German or Sweden or Danish or Norwegian or British or American. They just want to be who they are. Not all of them. Some of them come there and they want the freedoms and all of the trappings that come with it. Some of the people that come here, they want all of those things. But a lot of times they feel disenfranchised in some ways. But part of that is because diversity and assimilation is a two-way street. It is. It really is. And I don't think people understand. And the left, the minute you say something like that, you get stuff like this.
There was a time in this country where individuals used to use bullhorns and water hoses, but now those same individuals, they now wear Brooks Brothers suits and get late-night cable TV shows. So I think that this is a vein of white nationalism. I think that Tucker Carlson, I don't know him personally, Carlson. So I don't want to call him racist, but he's trafficking in the political currency, that the same political currency that the president uses, which is racism, because what he just said was probably the most asinine, ignorant thing that I think anybody actually gets paid to actually say.
Let me point something out first. If Tucker Carlson called him Don Leonard, people would have said that was racist. You did that on purpose. He calls him Tucker Carlson, which is not his name. First of all, Tucker Carlson's not a white nationalist. He pointed out something. And he pointed out what a lot of people think is diversity for the sake of diversity. Just like we're going to shove everybody into this. Doesn't always work. Look, if two parties naturally and organically come together from different cultures and races and backgrounds, that's great. But when you shove them in and say, here, and one side's like, this is great, and the other side's like, I want nothing that you have to offer, which happens far more than people want to talk about. Now, Tucker's come out to defend himself, as I think he should.
For more than 2 centuries, the motto of this country was E pluribus unum, out of many one, a country in which our differences mean less than our common identity as Americans. Boom. Then a few decades ago, that changed. With no vote or even an acknowledgement, our elites jettisoned the old motto and adopted a new one. Diversity is our strength. The new slogan seemed to have the opposite meaning from the ones the founders wrote. Our differences, they began telling us, are now the single most important thing about us. The less alike we are, the better.
No, doesn't work that way. He's right. People say, well, it's not our strength. Being Americans, living in this republic, the idea of America, what our founders built, that's the strength. The individual. Our rights, our constitutional rights protected. That's our strength. Not the, hey, guess what? You can check off all these boxes. We can be pals. That's not a strength. That's not. Strengths are what it is to be an American. And like I've said over and over again, I'll continue to do, a lot of what we see in this day and age is a culture clash. And it doesn't matter if it's the culture clash that's happening here on college campuses, with the culture they're trying to bring, the LGBTQ community, and how I think in many ways they're being pigeonholed by the liberals who have a chance to rope them up and things, and all of this stuff, whether it's Islam or people coming from different countries anywhere, and they want to live in this country or they want to live in the West, but what they really want to do is they want to be able to do what they do, and they want you to bend for them. And the political correctness of it all is allowing that to happen. And that is not a recipe for success. It's not. Diversity organically works. Forced, it's going to fall apart, and it's going to be a mess, and in the end, we're going to have a hodgepodge of crap. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I love it when you tweet at us. See, was that diverse? No. Sure, Chad, you're making fun of people. I don't think I'm really making fun of people. Maybe I am. Car Shield. I got a car. You got a car. We all got a car. But what are you doing to protect your car just in case? Let's say your engine dies. My friend took her car in. She thought it was nothing big. She had Car Shield. She wanted to cancel. I need to cancel it. I don't want to pay anymore. It's only got 60,000 miles on it. It was like 63,000 miles. She took it in. It was $1,900 and change. She needed the car fixed. She didn't cancel Car Shield. They took care of everything, including getting her a rental car. And guess what? It was at the dealership. What? Yeah, they didn't make her take it anywhere. But just in case, they got 24/7 roadside assistance. Just in case you say, you know what, I like my mechanic down the street. I'd like them to do the work on it. Car Shield is amazing. If you don't have it, get it. Protect yourself. Do what I did. Get extended vehicle protection. Call 800-CAR-6100. Mention code Benson, or you can visit carshield.com and use code Benson. That's going to save you 10%. They are amazing, but all kinds of plans. Check it out for yourself. Go to carshield.com. Use code Benson to save 10%, or call 800-CAR-6100. Deductible may apply. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. ChadBenson. Chad Benson Show.
Feel free to punk this punk rocker any time of the day or night. Reach Chad on Twitter at Chad Benson Show and on Instagram at Chad Benson Show. And oh yeah, the Chad Benson Show on Facebook too. Punk that.
How do you feel when the president tweets about you? I think he's called you what he said, Woodward book is a scam. Don't talk the way I am quoted. If I did, I would not have been elected president. These quotes were made up. The author uses every trick in the book to demean and belittle. I wish that people could see the real facts, and our country is doing great. Yeah. How do you feel when the president says you're lying? I'm not.
He's not. Bob Woodward says he's not. He's on with Nancy Pelosi's long-lost son, Stephen Colbert, talking about his book that's coming out. And this is my thing with the book. What's in there that I don't already know or don't already think? Like, if you're going to come out with something, then come out with it. Like, what in there is going to sway people's mind? You're telling, first of all, this is part of the echo chamber that so many people now live in, both the left and the right. They all live in these echo chambers, and every once in a while somebody will come out and look outside, and then they run back in the echo chamber. But what? The White House is chaotic? Nothing new. We all knew that. Right? All of us did. Did you not know it was chaotic? You just waking up today and go, you really think it's chaotic? Yes, it's chaotic. Absolutely, I do. Well, the truth is going to, okay, but what truth is going to come out?
What is the truth? And I'm willing to put myself out here. I've done the work. This is the best reporting you can do, or that I can do. And for him to get up and, he has his First Amendment rights. He can say anything. The truth emerges, and the truth will emerge on this too.
Okay, but what's the truth? Because do we need another book that says there's chaos in the White House? Is there somebody in there that you know for sure that you're going to drop something on us that's going to make everybody go, sweet mama jamma? This is it. This is a game changer. This changes everything. Absolutely. And I respect Bob Woodward. I do. I respect Bob Woodward. He is more than I do Carl Bernstein. But I like Bob. I think he's a real guy. I don't think he's lying about any of this stuff. But I just want to know, what are you telling us that either people don't already know or people don't already think? So if you're going to bring something new, what is it that you're bringing that is going to make everybody sit back and go, wow, like that is like what are you hoping to achieve out of this? Like, what's coming out of this that's going to change it? We've already gone to, everybody's gone to their tribes and they're doing their thing, and we're Hunger Gaming it now in politics, and we're just, so whatever you're talking to the echo chamber, really you're only talking to a certain group of people, because no matter what you put out, the side that loves him is going to think everything you say is fake news, and the common sense side of a lot of us are going to be like, what's changed? What are you telling me that I already know or think? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Texas Rangers arresting Geiger over the weekend, charging her with manslaughter. But the Dallas County DA says more serious charges are not out of the question.
The grand jury will be able to look at all aspects of this case, which will include anything from murder, manslaughter, or what have you.
So this whole thing is very interesting. This Texas wrong apartment, because on the face of it, right? On the face of it, you're like, because at first they got to tell you, okay, well it's a white officer and it's a black man, and that's it. That's all you need to know. Yeah, everything else is irrelevant for certain people out there, and it's a horrible situation. It is. I don't know her. She could be evil or not. When I've read some of the stuff about what happened, she parked on the wrong floor. She was in apartment 283, and he was in apartment 483, something like that, or 383. She parked on the wrong floor. What I said, she was tired. She got there and a little unsure about the door, but the door didn't seem to be kicked in. It was dark. She said she saw somebody, a shadow. She pulled out her gun. He didn't comply. She shot. She then turned the light on and realized it wasn't her apartment, immediately called 911 and started to render aid. It's a tough thing. And it will be, in some people, it's a racist thing. This is awful. You hear all of these things.
That person was able to leave Botham's home, return to her home, and not face any consequence for 3 days after he was killed. And that is extremely problematic.
But first of all, you just don't arrest somebody for the sake of it. You have to build up something. Secondly, if you're going to kill somebody, right, that's your, hey, you set up. She woke up 6 a.m, did her 6 or 7 hours, did her 12-hour shift, went and did whatever she had to do, got home when it was dark, and she decided, this is the time I'm going to kill that guy downstairs. We're going to make it look like this. You've really got to start to build a case. And the last thing you're probably going to do is call 911 immediately and start to render aid. And she shot him once, I guess, in the torso, and it's a horrible thing. And I'm not saying that she didn't do something out of spite, because we won't know all of the stuff. But it's sad that the way this whole thing was framed is like, oh, did you guys hear? A white cop killed a black guy. And then you go through the whole thing. It's like, well, that's not really, that's what happened, but you're making it seem like it was just a routine traffic stop, and she's like, hey, now's the time I'm going to shoot a black guy. It's not the way it was. And potentially it could be nothing. It could be absolutely nothing.
It seems to be very self-serving in many ways to try to explain away an unarmed dead African American being killed in his own apartment.
Yeah. I mean, that's awful. But could it not be what everybody thinks it is? That's a possibility. Could it be exactly what some people think it is? Absolutely. Will we know the entire story? I don't think so. But I do ask you if there wasn't any forced entry into the house. So the door was ajar. She thought it was hers. There was no forced entry. Because the way some people make it sound like she just kicked the door down and away she went. We don't know what happened. Plus, we don't know, is there a relationship? There's all these things that we don't know about. We don't. And if he was murdered in cold blood, damn, Skippy, they got the electric chair there, right? Are they still doing the electric slide there? Or are we just at the point now where we're just still trying to put people to sleep? I think they've got I think Ron White said his state's trying to put in a conveyor belt. Express lane, that's right.
Other people are trying to outlaw the death penalty. My state's putting in an express lane.
That's right. So, it's in the end, a man, a son, a brother, a coworker, a friend, lost his life, and it is awful. It is absolutely 100% awful, and we need to find everything out. But we live in this day and age of let's all jump to conclusions, facts be damned, and I think everybody needs to always take a step back. But with social media and the pressures to get things done immediately, I think we often forget that human beings now that 20 years ago didn't face the immediacy of getting something done and allowing the news cycle to play itself out, and it was a little bit longer, face a new world and new pressures, whether it's the police or whoever it is, to get things done. And I think we take a step back and say, let's see, could this have just been an awful tragedy? Yes. Could it have been what some people think it is? Yes. Could it be something in between? Absolutely. But jumping to any conclusions isn't going to solve anything. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. We jump from one thing that who knows what it could be, a crime, a tragedy, to something very, very different.
Mike had a dinner idea. Meet at Mercado in Pasadena.
When I arrived at the table, he had already ordered. He'd ordered some shrimp tacos. So I was a little bit surprised when he said that he was going to order again. So I believe what he ordered was like carne asada.
Carol recalls Mike had to go to the bathroom here, then vanished. Authorities say Carol's date is also known as Paul Guadalupe Gonzalez, or the alleged dine and dash dater. Now prosecutors are trying to stick a fork in him.
I get it. He's the dine and dash dater, and he faces real charges. Forget this.
The district attorney has charged Gonzalez with 11 counts of extortion and 2 counts of attempted extortion after allegedly courting women online, meeting them at restaurants, ordering food and drinks, and sticking them with bills totaling more than $950.
That's $1,100. We talked about how expensive dating was. Let me ask you this, right? Because I've heard stories the other direction as well, being a guy here. Now, this guy's a clown and a grade A1 a-hole, and, well, I kill less. But let me ask you this. There are women out there that they're taking the meal, right? You're not taking the Sizzler. They don't want Sizzler. They want Red Lobster, right? They want something nice. Well, what he was doing was conning them. Well, if you know going in that you're only here for the meal, whether you dash and dine or cordially snack on the food and then at the end of the night brush that person off for good, isn't it kind of the risk you take at dating nowadays? Chad, that's not very nice.
Predators can use technology now to manipulate, groom, lure, and get people where they want them without any risk to themselves.
Predator. $900. I wonder what kind of jail time. Like, how do you look at somebody? You're in jail. So there you go. They say, hey, clown, you're going to jail. We're going to put you in jail for 6 months for He's like, can't I just pay everybody back? No, you got to. Now you don't even have to pay them back. No, they want you to go to jail. But there's always one girl who's like, I'll go out with you again. And so, you're such a jerk. So he goes to jail, and he's sitting in his cell with all of his other cellies. Is that what they call them, cellies? Phil, you've been in prison plenty of times. Did you call them cellies?
Yeah.
So you're sitting there, and like, this guy's over here for grand theft, and it's like his 10th time. This guy's here for strong-armed robbery and craziness and bringing drugs across state lines. This guy's in here for just being insane and killing a bunch of people. And they ask you, like, what did you do? And you're like, I got a bunch of free dinners from ladies, and they got all pissed off, and they took me to jail. And they took me to court, and now I'm in here. And that's, first of all, you're going to have no cred. Secondly, when you do stuff to women, they're going to want to kick your ass, and rightly so. All of us have been in bad relationships where we've lost some money or we did that and the other. This guy, I guess he was conning, but I tell you what, you know what, if you've dated, it's expensive. We talked about it. It was like 2 weeks ago, how expensive it is. And some people are like, I'm just not dating anymore. And there are women out there, like I've heard them. It's like, I just wanted the free meal or stuff. Now, granted, you may have, if he would have stayed all the way through it. Okay, here's a question. Let's just say he stays all the way through, but at the end of it, he goes, I don't have my wallet. Or whatever, right? Like his cards declined. And then you're like, and knowing that was going to happen, and he knows he's never going to see them again. And it's going to be like, oh, I'm so embarrassed. I can't believe this happened. Or and he makes up some excuse. Is that like, but he made it through, like he made it to the finish line. And because he made it through the finish line, we're going to be like, it's okay then. Look, I think he's a jerk and, he's going to get whatever he gets. But still, something to think about, right? 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. I know I'm going to get tweets. You're a jerk, Chad. You're a jerk. And then I'm going to get other tweets. Is Phil really in prison? I'm like, yes, for a long time.
No, but I am late talking to my probation officer.
That's right. He doesn't know where I am. And this thing on my leg keeps beeping all the time. I don't know what that's all about. You can text the program, 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Do you or don't you? Straight ahead, Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what? So we were talking about this earlier. If you didn't hear, these idiots, and I've got a lot of people responding about this, but here's the story about, a couple ding-dongs.
In the video posted on social media is the body of 21-year-old Kyle Kirby, pronounced dead Sunday in Valparaiso, Indiana. Two men are shown manipulating the man's mouth like he was singing a song and lifting his arms like he was a puppet. The Porter County coroner says the video shows a blatant disregard for human life, but Porter County Sheriff Dave Reynolds says his office, who responded to a call from one of the man's parents, concludes no laws were broken and that the men said they were horseplaying. The coroner says he suspects a drug overdose, but won't know until a toxicology report in 2 weeks.
And people are writing in, they're like, dude, there's no way it is real. Like, at least once a week, Phil, we get some story that we've stopped even talking about stories where people are online, like bragging about the person they just robbed or the crime they just committed. Stupid is so powerful in this country. It's never been stronger. Now, it may have been stronger, we just didn't know it, but we've now given power to stupid. And we've handed them the tools to broadcast stupidity all the time. People are like, yeah, you're on the radio. Exactly. It's crazy. It is. And people are texting in going, Chad, you're right. We used to laugh at people, and they would always be known about the dumb thing that they did. You can get a nickname in some way, shape, or form for something stupid they did. And nowadays, people are like, wow. People are jealous of these guys because they probably got like 5 million views. And somebody's sitting there going, God, those guys are I do funnier videos than they do. They're just lucky because they found a dead body. Like, there are people out there saying that. Oh, they're so lucky. God, got a dead body. If I had a dead body, you should see what I could do with it. I'm just saying. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. People are tweeting there. People are calling me a jerk because I was I think it was Phil, did I do anything wrong? Because, like, the way they framed the thing is, yeah, he dashed and dined, and that was ridiculous, and he kind of set him up for that. But if he would have faked the entire meal and stayed till the end, and then they would have paid, somehow that'd have been okay? Really?
I don't know.
Because Phil's always telling, dude, you got to hear, like, this girl the other night, she took me out for dinner, and then I totally left. And no, I mean, all of us have been in a horrible
Everyone knows that's
date.
a lie just to begin with when they say someone took me out to dinner.
That's true, because Phil likes to cook, by the way. If you've not seen, check out Phil on the old Facebook. He's a hell of a cook, by the way. But people are like, you know what? Yeah, Chad, you're kind of a jerk, but you do make a point. Like, if he would have stayed all the way through, like, somehow he crossed the finish line or he finished eating his vegetables and like, all right, you can leave, and that was okay. I mean, I think it's awful, but, you know, is it really, like, should they shame him? Should we go back to public shaming? That's a good question. Like, I like that question right there. So instead of this guy, here's a guy who, you know, lures 9 or 10 women to take him out to meals, and they take him out to, wherever, Chili's, and it's like $80, and he leaves, and they're stuck with the tab, and they get pissed, and they all get together, and they go after him. And should the judge say, you know what, you got to wear one of those bread things and stand out there that says you're a douche, rather than do time, or this is what we're going to do to you? Should we think about bringing back public shaming? Say what? Because we do kind of do public shaming nowadays. In some ways. But should we bring it back in a more like, because the town square is right in front of us. It's the internet. So should you have to do a video and, you know, be, you know, basically you're a douche canoe and this is what happens, and put yourself on blast, and then everybody can laugh at you and we can just move on, rather than say, look, we're going to take the court's time up with this, and potentially we're going to put him in jail for a weekend and make him wash, you know, cops' cars or pick up trash on the side of the road. Should we just say, hey, it's better, why don't we just public shame the guy? You know, we'll put a dunce cap on him, right? Maybe make him wear a diaper and one of those breadboards, and we'll stand him outside and we'll film it for 10 minutes and make him do something stupid and apologize to the ladies, and then we'll, you know, send it out there, and then we'll all move on with our life. And then people are like, oh my God, that guy was so cool because look at all the stuff that he did. Now he's got like 50 million views because that's how stupid we are. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. That's the sad thing. You can't even do public shaming anymore. Because people will like things like, if you embarrass yourself, you're going to get something for it. You're going to get views. And people will still be like, oh, wow, those guys had the dead body, and then this guy did some horrible, but look, he didn't public shame himself, and they made him do it, and now he's like, oh, he's got like 50 million followers on Instagram. Oh, geez, we can't win. What do I have to do? My videos are funny. Why don't people follow me? I need it. There are people out there like that. There are people. That's why people are willing to do anything. People are willing to do stupid stuff and potentially kill themselves because they want the follow. Oh, good God. The stupid is strong. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me your love, your hate, your distaste with me. Plenty of you do. And you started off with some sort of horrible saying towards me. And I'm okay with that. I understand you're angry. I get it. I do. I'll take the brunt of your anger for now. Maybe not later, but for now. It's the Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. independent in thought, and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
We remember the moment when America fought back.
Trump today speaking at Shanksville in Pennsylvania, the field where Flight 93 went down, when, yes, they did fight back. They knew what was going on. They knew what the stakes were, and they fought back. Of course, it is 9/11. I'm asking the question, and I want to hear from you about what have you learned since then? I mean, we're 17 years on. Our footprint, not carbon footprint, but our footprint militarily has gotten bigger. We're now in places we never thought we would be. And we, as a country, have given up certain things in hope that we're going to be safer. What have we learned? One thing that I think a lot of people started to wake up to, though, is that there's radicalism that is very real. And I've said all along, it's a culture clash. You know, it's this culture clash. And culture clashes are very, very, very real. Whether people want to believe it or not, they're very real. And in our politically correct world that we live in, where you can't say anything to anybody about anything because these social jihadis will come out of the woodwork and they will attack you it's time. I'm going to attack you because you said this and because I can now label you. Because the first thing that any of these groups do is they label you, right? So you're a racist, you're an Islamic phobe, you're a nationalist, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist, you're whatever it is that they can throw at you, right? Homophobe, transphobe, because then they can, what do they do at that point in time? They feel they've painted you into a corner, and then they can surround you with their posse and then just unload. And for a lot of people, it's the Alamo. Right? You're trying to defend off all of this stuff. When I look back, and I've said all along, it's a culture clash. The West is going through a culture clash. Not just America, but the West. France, the Germans, right? The Italians, the British, Sweden, Norway, right? Most of Scandinavia is going through a culture clash right now. Because of all of the things that have happened, we've seen a flooding of people coming over, some of them running for their lives and just want a better opportunity, but a majority of them coming over, and they feel disenfranchised. And at the same time, they want to be who they were. They just want to do it in other places. You know, we look at like Scandinavia. Oh, it's the great model for socialism. It's the model for socialism. It's the greatest thing in the world. This is what it is. We should be more like them. You look at them, they talk about a non-diversity, right? Talk about, you look at that and he's like, so we should be less diverse, right? Monolithic society where it's just pretty much, Iceland, it's wonderful, it's all these great things, look at them, unnatural. Again, look at them. We are amazing in many ways because we're diverse, right? But I always look at diversity as a weird way. Tucker Carlson got himself into some hot water with the left, which is not a shock because you open up your mouth and you're anywhere on the right, you're going to get yourself in hot water because they're looking to catch you in something, no matter what it is. And he came out and he said something which is just outrage the left.
How precisely is diversity our strength? Can you think, for example, of other institutions such as, marriage or military units in which the less people have in common, the more cohesive they are? Do you get along better with your neighbors or your coworkers if you can't understand each other or share no common values?
Racist! They'll scream, right? First of all, diversity should be first and foremost, organic. Forced diversity for the sake of diversity doesn't work. It doesn't. Secondly, and I think this is something vitally important that a lot of Europe is finding out now. It's not you, it's them. They have to want it. They have to want it. If you don't want to assimilate into a culture, you're going to struggle The problem is the West, in the political correctness, has now tried to say, don't worry, you don't have to assimilate. You don't have to do any of those things. We will bend over backwards to make your stay here as comfortable as possible. And if you dare say anything like, this is ridiculous, why do I always have to press 1 for English, you get labeled.
There was a time in this country where individuals used to use bullhorns and water hoses, but now those same individuals, they now wear Brooks Brothers suits and get late night cable TV shows. So I think that this is a vein of white nationalism. I think that Tucker Carlson, I don't know him personally, so I don't want to call him racist, but he's trafficking in the political currency, that the same political currency that the president uses, which is racism, because what he just said was probably the most asinine, ignorant thing that I think anybody actually gets paid to actually say.
No, and I love how people on the left want to go, well, back in the day, we were all about diversity. People come here from different cultures. And you know what happens? You learn to sink or swim. You either got to a point where you assimilated yourself or you struggled. It's not that way anymore. We're not even asking you to assimilate at all. You know, when I was in Europe, I saw several of my friends who went over to play soccer on, as we used to call it when I was in England, on the continent. And the ones who were successful went to places like Spain, Germany, Italy, France, and they assimilated. They learned the language. They became part of the culture. The ones that went over as Englishmen, and I'm going to be who I am, and I'm just going to do it here, they struggled, and they came home with their tail between their legs. If I went to a different country, like when I lived in England, granted, very similar in a lot of ways, right? 51st state, I used to joke about. But when I went there, I was as English as I possibly could be. I wanted to be part of the culture. I wanted to throw myself into what it is that made them English and their country the way it was. I wanted to do all of that. When I lived in Scotland, it was the same way. I wanted to be a part of that. I didn't ask them to say, you know what, sing the Star Spangled Banner, change for me. That's not what I asked them to do. And if I would have gone to France, like a couple of my friends did, I would have learned the language and I would have assimilated the best as possible to become part of their culture, not ask them to change everything for me. Diversity for the sake of diversity doesn't work. It doesn't. It's about saying, look, you want to be part of who we are as a country? Fantastic. Bring the best of what you have. Great. We'll assimilate it together. We'll love to share our stuff. But here's the idea of who we are as America. Right? This is what we're about. I don't care about your skin culture. I don't care about where you came from. I don't care about any of those games. This is what we are. Do you see what I see? Do you want to be a part of what it is that we are? And if you do, great. We'll help you along the way. Because all too often, there are a lot of people that come here and they assimilate so fast. And there are a lot of people that come here and they want no part of assimilation whatsoever. They want to be who they are from where they came from. And they want us to bend over backwards to let them do that. And that's not going to make success. Period. Case closed. By the way, Don Lemon, his name is Tucker Carlson, not Tucker Carlson. Just to let you know.
Diversity is not a strength, is beyond comprehension. That's what makes this country great. That's what makes America unique to other countries, and bringing in different genders and races and ethnicities and minds and thoughts and religions. That's what makes America great. And I think to say that diversity makes us not strong, I think is completely wrong.
No, what makes America great is America. The idea, the thought, the belief that the individual has rights protected through the Constitution. It's not the color of your skin. It's none of this is the idea, the political identity ideologues that are out there that just want to talk about, political, hey, I look over at you and I see you're a lesbian that happens to be African American. Fantastic. Box, 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 check, 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 check. That's what they think. No, what makes America great is the fact that we are diverse, but it happened in an organic way. Now we're forcing it. In some ways, because first of all, we look at it and we say white America's awful and everything they've ever done is awful. Secondly, we think somehow there's magical brownie points that happen. No, diversity should be organic. That's what diversity should be, not forced upon. Tucker was right in some ways. You know, the reality is if nobody speaks the language, and that's not going to be great for us to learn. And we're just like, now we're like, yeah, you can come here. You don't have to worry about speaking the language. Don't even worry about any of those things. Don't. We'll bend over backwards for you. We'll allow you to be the flea that wags the tail that wags the dog. Don't worry about that. No, America's great not because of diversity. America's great because it's America. It's the Constitution. It's the ideals. It's not diversity. And they're not talking about diversity of ideals. They're talking about skin color, language, culture. We have our culture, and I think people forget that on the left. We as Americans have our culture. We do. But if you dare say we have a culture in America, what they'll say is you want to go back to 50s, right? With racism and go to the back of the bus, because you can't win. Because any argument's going to come out with you're a racist, you're a homophobe, you're Islamophobe. You get where I'm going. You're going to get labeled something. They like identity politics. Their identity that they get to choose. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Hey, somebody wrote me today and said, Chad, I joined AMAC. It's amazing. He goes, I just turned 50. I said, fantastic. Let me tell you about AMAC. First, when you look at all these organizations that are out there right now, there's a lot of them like ARP, right? Left-leaning. What are they doing for you? Nothing. Nothing. You pay money to them. They don't advocate on your behalf on common sense immigration reform, Medicare reform, things of that nature. So what are they doing for you? Nothing. Well, that's where AMAC comes in. They're amazing. They are going to advocate on your behalf. They're going to be a voice in a world of craziness in D.C. But on top of that, the benefits that they have for all of their members are incredible. Movie tickets. How about 40% off? You know how expensive it goes to movie? 40% off movie tickets. SeaWorld, Legoland, Six Flags, Disneyland, Disney World, 40% off there, up to 60% off supplemental dental plans, and then the retail, restaurant, travel discounts are amazing. Here's the great thing. They've partnered with me. I've partnered with them. They're giving you a year for free. They're not even going to ask you for your credit card. They don't want any of that. They just want you to try it out for a year for free. All you have to do is go to amac.us/Chad, AMAC. That's amac.us/Chad, or call 888-355-1668, 888-355-1668, or amac.us/Chad. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter, ChadBenson. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
I would hear from many Republicans who say the party of Lincoln cannot survive as the party of Trump. His behavior, his dysfunction, his jeopardizing our national security in terms of how we are viewed in the world and how we have abandoned our allies, his abandoning of not only national security, but fiscal security in terms of running up the national debt, and the tone on how he acts. We hear this from Republicans all over.
Look, the debt. She said something there, and how very rich of her to say that. She's worried about the running up of the debt. I love that. First of all, the omnibus bill that was signed, all of that money that's out there, the Democrats couldn't wait to get all those spending restrictions off because they just were super excited to spend. And for the Obama years, they spend. Government continues to just absolutely grow out of control, unchecked. And when we worry about North Korea, Russia, and destroying our republic here, and you know, all of the Islami jihads that are out there, and all of we worry about all of this stuff when the thing that's facing us that is the most danger is the fact that we are out of control in our spending to the point where there's a real issue here. And it's funny that she talks about that as if, right? As if, well, you know, we're super fiscally responsible. At least that's all we are. Like, people look at us like fiscally responsible. Neither side is fiscally responsible. Both of them continue to spend out of control because it's not their money. It's ours. They're not doing the fiscal job they need to do. That should piss all of us off, 100%. Whether it's the spending the money in the military and the way that they've done it, right? Look, I think we should spend money in the military. Absolutely. How about we do it wisely? You know, you've got generals and people saying, we don't really need these things. And you're like, who cares? We're going to get them anyways. Yeah, but we don't need those. How about give them the things they need? Or whether it's bloated programs socially that don't do anything but continue to tether people in circumstances, and they don't really help. There are so many things, but the government loves to spend. It's their jam. I saw something the other day where Nancy apparently said, as long as Trump is here, I'm here. I would go to Trump and say, all right, here's the deal. Love what you're doing at times. Other times you drive me crazy. You're a pain in a lot of people's ass, which is okay because some of those people deserve the pain in the ass. But we got a chance here. So if we can get her to say, I'll leave, would you leave too? I mean, come on, man. It's Nancy, man. Come on, man.
To the extent that the people who are with him are menaced by him is something that hopefully in the November elections, we'll have a further check on him because the Republicans in Congress have had nothing to say about this.
Wait, the people that with him are menaced by him? I'm not following. So you're saying the people that are working with him are terrorized by him? Is that where you're going with that? Not quite sure. It doesn't matter. So you promise you'll leave if he leaves? I want it in writing, right? Because a lot of you guys promise stuff, and then when the time comes, you're like, I'm never going to run again, but then you run for the next 40 years. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. People are tweeting in about diversity. Somebody's already called me, you're just a homophobe, racist. I think they were joking. Sarcasm. I get it. It's tough on the old text, but I understand it. How do you feel about diversity? Should we force it? Or should we let it play out organically? I'm all about the organic side of diversity. That's me, because I think it works better long term. And I'm hoping we're talking long term. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent in thoughts and punk rock in life. It's the Chad Benson Show.
The youths of America, that's the young people, are loving socialism. There's a lot of reasons they love socialism. First of all, one thing socialism does, and I never talk about, is it allows them to continue their childhood for much longer because it takes away personal responsibility of them getting out there and doing something. They can stay on their mom and dad's insurance till they're 26. It really allows them. I mean, think about it. If you go back a century, what was a 26-year-old 100 years ago, right? Probably back from the war, had a couple of kids, several years deep into their career. This allows them to extend their childhood, but they've grown up in a public education system that has been dominated by the left. Right, from textbooks to college academia, they've had this amazing, wonderful picture painted to them by people who've never lived in reality. For all intents and purposes, academia lives in academia, and it sounds great. It's on paper. It's utopia. It's wonderful. To me, I just laugh and say it's no different than Harry Potter, but whatever, right? And then you get all these liberal stars who come out of the woodwork, and they talk about how great socialism is. It's amazing. It's incredible. This past weekend, Bill Maher had on Jim Carrey because he's got a new show coming out called Kinder, I think it is. It's basically about by the looks of it, it's a show about like a Mr. Rogers character that seems to be kind of spinning out of control. and, the debate of socialism that's growing because a younger population just loves it. They're sold this ideology that somehow America can do it better. We've done everything else better, so we'll do socialism better. They never want to talk about the failed socialistic programs in countries around the world. They just want to say that somehow they can magically do it better than everybody else.
Democrats seem to be getting their groove back a little bit, and what I mean by that is that Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, Ayanna Pressley, Stacey Abrams, Carrie Evelyn Davis, these are all women who won in primaries, weren't supposed to, and they did it with unabashed liberal proposals: Medicare for all, ending student debt, a different approach to the war on terror, ending mass incarceration. It seems like if there is maybe a shining spot in this Trump tragedy, it's that it's made the Democrats sort of rediscover who they are.
And I will tell you guys this. Just like Trump was an answer to the political correct BS of the Obama administration and those times, the answer that's coming from the left, as the pendulum sometimes learns how to swing and does swing, will be this socialistic idea that has been brewing forever. And think about how young of our voter base, right? So think about how young it is, how big it is, how idealistic it is. If you're not, if you're not a liberal when you're in your 20s, you don't have a heart. And if you're not conservative in your 30s, you don't have a brain. Well, that's been extended, right? You got 20-somethings into early 30-somethings who are living on this idealistic thing of, hey, you know what? Socialism sounds great because I got sold a bill of goods because I should, they told me if I go to college, I'm going to come out with all this stuff. And all they came out with was debt. There's nothing waiting there for me. I got this useless, right, underwater basket weaving lesbian dance studies degree that doesn't do anything for anybody. Damn it. I want you to make it even because I want the equality of outcome. That's it. And people say, oh, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad, it's bad. And the younger generation's big as far as the voter block. And they're saying, no, it's good. It's good. It's wonderful. We're going to have this equality of income. We're going to have this equality of life. And the thing about socialism, it's not about bringing people from the bottom up. It's about chopping down the top and making everybody miserable. But they tout the fun stuff, the great stuff. Everybody gets something for free. Nobody gets anything for free, right? Nobody does. You don't get something for free. Somebody's either taking a hit, right? Like, you get your first hit, right? You get your first hit for free. Well, there's a reason for that, because there's a long-term project there. There is. And I'm going to tell you guys some little dirty secret about the liberals and what they don't tell you about socialism.
So, the Republicans are running with the word socialism. They're trying to say...
They're trying to scare people.
Scare people.
It's communism. It's
Venezuela, Trump says. We're going to be living in Venezuela.
And it's hilarious, right? Well, first of all, is Bernie Sanders and many of these people touted, Hugo Chavez as this great reformer, that he has done something great. He's went in, he's nationalized everything, and he ran it all into the ground. People are fleeing there. It is a failed state. They have the largest oil supply on planet Earth. It is a failed state. And how do you keep the state together? You do it with guns. You do it with guns, right? That's how you keep it together. You promise everybody the world. You do it at the tip of a gun. But you should love socialism, Chad. It's going to give you everything you've ever dreamed of, and it's going to be a collective greatness here. I tell everybody, if you don't want to look at socialism from the point of view of communism, the failure for it, right? If you go back and you look at Marx and Lenin and the writings of, hey, how do we get from point A to point B? Well, we start with socialism. That's how you get there. And by the way, fascism, socialism, it's all communism. It's under the same umbrella, whether people want to believe that or not. That is all under the same umbrella. But it's funny when I listen to people talk about this, like that somehow the hubris that we have here in this country is we're going to be able to do it better than everybody else. And that Venezuela and Cambodia and the collectivism over there under Pol Pot and the Khmer Rouge and all of these, you don't have to, that's not what we're about. No, it's going to be this great, wonderful thing. And I tell everybody, go back and even look at situational things, right? People who create socialism never want to live under it. They want to live above it. John Smith came here with all of the settlers. He looked around and says, we're going to try this. After years, like, that sucked. Let's all do this. That didn't work like we thought it was going to work. But what about all the free great stuff?
You from people is that it's a failure. The system is a failure in Canada. It is not a failure in Canada. I never waited for anything in my life. I chose my own doctors. My mother never paid for a prescription. It was fantastic. And I just got back from Vancouver, and I keep hearing this, like, Canadians are so nice. Canadians are so nice. They can be nice because they have health care.
Oh, is that why they're nice? Is that why they're nice? Because they have health care? Your health care has a lot of issues. You've got serious issues with wait times, seeing specialists, things of your anecdotal, I never had to wait for anything. And by the way, much like having lived in socialized medicine, having lived in England under the National Health Services, the NHS, having done that, let me tell you how it works for people like Jim Carrey and many others. Maybe as a child he didn't have to. Times have changed. He hasn't been there in a long time. I'll tell you this right now. If we went to a quote-unquote Medicare for all, Bill Maher's not living under that. Jim Carrey's not living under that. No, that's good for the masses, but not for him. He'll have concierge medicine, much like I did when I was in England. Let me tell you how you get to see a doctor. Either A, you come back to America, which I had to do, or B, and this is vitally important, you grease the wheels and you find private insurance and private healthcare professionals that'll see you. I don't think anybody should go bankrupt. And I think we can do a better job for our fellow man. But we never look at the, why is it a mess again? Why is this so expensive? Why is my iPhone cost me $1,000, but this catheter cost me $1,500? Why? We don't, because everybody's greasing their own pockets along the way. But I just love the fact that the embracing of it. And remember, it's all idealistic. It's none of it's real. You put it into practice and you look around and it's failed and it's failed and it's failed. And somehow it's going to work. And we have too many socialist programs now. And what do those socialist programs do for a lot of people out there living in the world? They tether them to a place where they're stuck. They do. Socialism sounds wonderful. I can extend my childhood. That sounds great. I don't have to have any real responsibility. That sounds great. There's a lot of things to appeal to a young person about socialism. There is. But nobody ever wants to talk about the dark evils of socialism. When I hear, what about Sweden? That's the thing. What about the Scandinavians? They've said, the Danish prime minister said, hey, Bernie, stop saying we're socialist. We're not. We're not socialist. We're a free market. That's it. We're a free market. Period. We've even had to lower some of our taxes. We're a free market society. And by the way, for those of you who don't know, Sweden and a lot of these other countries at one time were extremely wealthy. But when they became this socialistic kind of, overtaxation kind of thing, what you saw is all of their big companies leave. And then what you have is an okay middle class, very, very, very small percentage of upper class that pays for a lot of stuff, and a thriving and growing socialistic hand me part of their countries. They don't want to talk about those things. They don't. And again, they're a free trade, free market country with high taxes. And instead of taxing companies, what do? They tax individuals. Because you see, companies have one thing that many individuals don't have. They have mobility. Tax me, IKEA, will bounce. Bye-bye. So you tax the individual to the point where, because they know they're stuck. None of these things they ever want to talk about. They don't. And that's what makes me laugh. But it's easy to appeal to an idealistic society that is as big as the baby boomers have, the baby boomers have had these kids who were once latchkey kids, and then they decided to have kids themselves, and they created this millennial generation where they went the exact opposite. Instead of being latchkey, do for yourself, they coddled them to the point where now things like socialism sounds wonderful. That's how we got here. And I sit here and I shake my head. So you can talk about it all you want. Is it a bad word? No, it's not a bad word. If that's what you want, go for it. But I always like to tell everybody who tells you it's wonderful and it's going to be for free and it's going to be great, and they're going to chop from the top, because the only way to make it equal, right, is to bring everybody down rather than bring everybody up, because they have no incentive to bring everybody up. And because everybody down below is some way, shape, or form, too. There's a victimhood that goes on there. But nothing is for free. And those same people that are telling you how wonderful it is aren't going to live by the same rules that you do. And that's something that I think people really need to understand.
But that word, the Democrats need to get a plan to fight the slander of socialism you're going to be living in Venezuela.
Well,
I don't see it yet.
We have to say yes to socialism, to the word and everything. We have to stop apologizing.
But that word.
Say yes. Say yes. Say yes to socialism. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say I've seen it. I've seen what it's done to countries. I've seen where this is headed. And I'm going to pass. And every time somebody says socialism is great, yeah, you can remind them about Venezuela, but you can look about all the Eastern European countries that once lived under socialism. And remember, they built the walls not to keep people out, but to keep them in, because they knew where they were going to go when they had the chance. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Love hearing from you. My pillow. I slept like a log, as I tend to do now, which is so weird, because I get my little, I have that watch where you sleep and then, you wake up and it tells you, you've slept this many hours. And I'm always amazed at how long I sleep for. And My Pillow is incredible. I mean, I really am sleeping like I've never slept before in my life. And I used to never sleep. And now I'm sleeping 6, 7, 8 hours. And I look at that thing and it says, wow, last night I looked, I had about 3 hours and 40 minutes, almost 4 hours of just no restlessness, none of that. I was just out, motionless sleep. And I was like, that's incredible. My Pillow's the reason. Your chance now, backed by popular demand. Buy one, get one free. My Pillow is 100% machine washable and dryable. It's made right here in the USA, 10-year warranty. You can buy one, get one free. Call 800-944-4975, or you go to mypillow.com. When you do, use promo code Benson. Remember, you're going to get 2 pillows for the price of one. The most comfortable pillow. You're going to get the better night's rest than you've ever had before. Go to mypillow.com, promo code Benson, or call 800-944-4975. That there, kids, was called capitalism. It's the Chad Benson Show.
Are you PC and groupthink brainwashed? Time for a double detox shot of Chad.
Text the program. Love hearing from you. Love, hate, whatever it is. It should never be hate. You know what's funny is when you even mention this, and there's so many people out there who they come at you with, well, we need government regulation. We need all of this stuff. We need more of this. We need to do these kind of things. And it's because of this. And we need more of those kind of things. And I try to explain it. No, we don't. We need less of it. That's the problem we have. Right? The problem we have is government's at the point where it is the place of power. Back in the days with the kings and the monarchies, what'd you have to do? You had an area of land, your business and stuff. You had your people that worked underneath you, and to make sure that you continued to make everything go, you had to go where? You had to go to the monarchy, and you had to bring them, bribes and all of this, and offerings and these kind of things, and a tribute. And we do the same thing. We just have it now with government. That's what makes people, free market's bad, Chad. It never really works for everybody. Well, it doesn't work for everybody because everybody doesn't understand how it actually works. It's not the free market. We don't have a free market. We have a market based on what our lobbyists can do and can't do. You take away the lobbying power and you take away the power of the politicians to do only the things that we're supposed to be doing. And what do you have? You'll have a market that's freer that will be able to operate in a way that will benefit everybody. But when you tell everybody, hey, you got to come here, pay your tribute to get things done, then that free market goes away. It's not free anymore because you're actually paying something for that marketplace. And that's the frustration that we have. It should piss everybody off. It really should. That's why you get kids coming out of college with $60,000, $100,000, $200,000 in debt. They've been sold a bill of goods, think that the fact that they've got some sort of degree is going to get them something. Find out the degree is absolutely worthless, right? On top of that, they've been fed a line for their family their entire life that everything they've ever done is amazing and that it's incredible because mom and dad have been lying to them. And then they wonder why they're on their insurance till they're 26 and living in their basement. There's a reason for that. There's absolutely a reason for that. It's a crazy thing. Tweet at us, at Chad Benson Show. Text the program, 323-538-2423. Like us on Facebook and check out thechadshow.com. We got podcasts and all kinds of goodies up there. Put videos and whatnot and such and who's and what on there. So here's your useless fact of the day. Bela Lugosi, you don't know who he is. He was a famous actor way back in the day. He was the one who brought Dracula to the masses. Yes, indeed, he did. He was famous for playing that Dracula and something he was typecasted and frustrated for most of his life. Finally, Bela Lugosi died, had a heart attack in August of 1956. His kids thought it would be great if he was buried in the Dracula cape and costume because he said, we think that's what Dad would have wanted. I don't know if Dad would have wanted that. I got to be honest with you. But if you go see Bela Lugosi, whose grave is in Culver City, California, just know underneath he's dressed like Dracula. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Ha, ha, ha. Night, night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.